What are we kidding? We know what today's all about. Hard open. No intro. No nothing. It is the breaking rumors of Maxx Crosby. Everyone's talking about it in the mainstream media, legacy media, and obviously the Lions are connected because that's his first choice. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get it to David Montgomery. Great news there. Great news from David Montgomery. We're going to talk about why Carlton Davis left and should be worried about Kirby Joseph. So let's just go ahead and get into it right now. And I got to say this. If you didn't see my last video, it's because the rumors dropped that Jay Glazer is stating Maxx Crosby's not returning to the Raiders and he wants to go to Detroit. His number one destination is the Detroit Lions. So, of course, it's blowing up. Of course, as it should blow up. This is a huge news. Like, this is huge, right? This is huge breaking news or rumors, whatever you want to call it. But we got a trade deal in from SI.com, John McAroon. He said it's the perfect trade deal for Maxx Crosby. So let's take a look at it really quick. He says, for this trade deal, the Lions would give them the 17th pick, okay? The 4th pick in this year's draft, so we would have only the 2nd pick, 5th, 2 6s, and 2 7s. And then next year's 2nd round pick, Lions get Maxx Crosby and a 3rd round pick. This is a good trade. It's a good trade. So we'd have a 3rd round pick. So we wouldn't have a first. We'd have a 2nd, a 3rd, a 5th, a 6th, a 6th, a 7th, a 7th in this year's. Yeah, I would do that. That's a lot of draft picks still. Yeah, you're losing the 17th pick in the draft. That is a big loss. But you're gaining Maxx Crosby, literally one of the best players in football. They would have to have a plan at tackle. I think if something like this were to occur, you would have to guarantee that Taylor Decker was coming back, right? Because you would have to give up that 17th pick. Then maybe in the 2nd round, you'd pick up a right tackle or a tackle to sit behind. But look, that is a pretty good trade deal. Grade this trade A, B, C, D, or F. I would give this is a logical trade. You know what, though? I'll give it a B. I think the Lions can throw in a player, though. I think if we were to do a trade, you'd see a player like Aleem McNeil be dealt, or, like I said, a Brian Branch, maybe a younger player if that's what they're wanting. Another player would be dealt, I think so, with something like this. Because it would be such a big trade. So I could see a situation like that. Look, I'm all for it. I know a lot of people right now, the conversation is there's two sets of minds here. The Lions can't do it. It'll screw it up and go all in. I'm going all in. I've been a Lions fan for a long time. This team is so close. So effing close to a Super Bowl. We can taste it. And if you get a player like him on this defense, I think it would take it over the top. It's not guaranteed, obviously. You don't know, but it sure would help. And the NFC North is so competitive. I think it would be a sound idea. And this is where they're saying at heavy.com about the Raiders trade demand. And it's like everybody's pointing at the Lions. You know, they got a big decision to make. Because here's the thing. The excuse can't be, well, they ain't giving him up. That's not true now. The Raiders are looking, they looked, he's not going to be Raiders. That's what Glazer's saying. So you can't say, well, the team didn't want it. Now, if the Lions ultimately do not end up trading and another team, we find out the capital was way more, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think the Lions should give a call. They should attempt to. If they fail, they fail. I'm fine if attempting and failing. I am fine with that. But not attempting, I'm not fine with that. Because that you're not getting your team better on every avenue. He added to his defensive line would fix the defense. It would make the secondary great. And we're going to talk about Kirby Joseph. He's got some concerning news about how many years he may have left in the NFL. You may want to take advantage of it because we're talking 1 or 2. And we're going to get to that in a minute because Kerby Joseph spoke, and it's concerning. So we do have a window here. And look, I always say this, if you draft well, you always have a window. But if Kerby Joseph's career is shortened, you have Jared Goff and all these guys, Penei Sewell, Gibbs, go all in, man. If you can attempt to do it. If it fails, it fails. But attempt to. I am all in for that. Now I want to hear. You may disagree with me in the comments right now. Do you want to trade for him? Are you on the side of trading or not? And there's no wrong answer here. Your opinion is just as valid as my opinion. So you very well could be right, but that's my opinion. I want to make the trade. I want to go all in. Bring him home. Smack quarterbacks. It would be great. And we got great news. David Montgomery doing everything he can to avoid being gone. Says, I talked to him briefly. It's pretty evident that he knows exactly what has to happen. He's prepared to task the hand. It'll be good to see what he implements for our offense and what can he improve, Montgomery told NBC Sports. It's looking like he's wanting to stay because he knows we're going to run the football now. That's amazing news. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to stay, right? It's ultimately not his decision. It's Brad Holmes' decision. He's the general manager. But if David Montgomery is like, hey, I want to stay, that makes it a lot easier, and I want him to stay. 1 more year with Sonic and Knuckles. It was the interior of the offensive line. It was the interior. We're going to run the ball so much. You will get your Gibbs. He's going to get a lot of carries in a game. Man, when you run the ball 34, 35 times, he's going to get his carries. But he needs to have a little bit of relief. You don't want him doing that much. Like, oh, man, that would be... We're talking about having players be dead by the end of the year and going into, tired, exhausted, beat up. We don't want that. Happy Montgomery sounds excited to be back, or, excited that he has Drew Petzing, and that gets me excited that he potentially could be back. That's all. And I'm excited for that, but we got some worrisome news, guys. This is the worrisome news. Jay Kerb spoke. This one's a little dicey here. Once again, rooting for him from Dr. Chow. But cartilage is the holy grail. If you could regrow the articular cartilage, you would win the Nobel Prize. Okay, so it's the holy grail if they treat it. So basically, it's like impossible, right? Kirby Joseph, I don't know the extent of his knee, but when you're starting to talk about stem cells, that means you're beyond even microfracture. Look, Hail Marys get completed. Stem cells can help, but it's not one first down and you get a kneel. And then Kerby Joseph basically says he's going to try for 1 or 2 years left. Right here. So, says the next year or two, couple years, I think. That would be a victory that you can get out of Kerby Joseph. So the prognosis for Kerby Joseph career has shortened from a long term to one. This may be his last year, this year or next year. That sucks. That sucks. It really does. So we got a window with Kirby Joseph. We know it now. We got a window. The Lions got to draft a safety as well to prepare for his exit because the need just doesn't look great. But we got a window, and that's why doing the trade to get Maxx Crosby makes sense. Carlton Davis spoke. He says it was why he didn't resign. It was the terms of the deal, which I'm just going to say is undisclosed. There's like language inside of it, and I really wasn't fond of it, so that was it. So it was more of a contract deal. He says, I love Detroit. Before the season started, I was rooting for those guys as far as making it back to playoffs. Still got a lot of close friends to the team, even like how it went for free agency with us and Brad and Dan. Is like straight up process. It wasn't BS around it. It was a good conversation, good communication. So I got nothing bad to say about them. Actually, I'm still a big fan of them, what they do. Still got a lot of love and a lot of those guys on the team for sure. That's really cool. You know, we've had breakups before that it was salty. You know, Matt Patricia era. You know, Darius Slay, Quandre Diggs, all of that. This is what I do like about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and we've seen that during the Hard Knocks, is they just take it to the players straight up, and they don't BS them. And they tell them make exactly like what it is, and they treat them like an adult. And I think anyone who knows about NFL or any business respects the hell out of that. You know, it's a business, is what it is, and they're just going to keep it a buck. They're not going to BS you. They're not going to tell you a lie. And I do like that, and it shows that when you do that, players respect the organization. They respect it a lot more, and then you have an organization that's more beloved, and that's becoming a good organization, a well-ran organization. That's the type of stuff now we're seeing as well-ran organization. That's good. It's good to hear. So give me your thoughts about today's Lions rumors. Adios.